Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to What's the 504. I am your host, Christy B. If you are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. And if you are returning, welcome back. So you guys, I wanted to give you guys an update on Orrin and Orson West case. Those are the two boys that are missing from California City, 3 years old and 4 years old. So the chief of California City Police Department gave an interview, I guess you can say an interview update between ABC23 and what's it, KGET News. So I did kind of a combined summary of what occurred in the interviews and kind of updates as to where the case stands. So according to the chief, okay, of course, a lot of us know by now that the adopted parents are no longer staying in the house in California City, that they have moved back to Bakersfield, which is where they were living previously before they moved into the home in California City back in September. Now, according to the police as well, because it was like rumored that the police had boarded up the home, but actually the chief dispelled that rumor and said, no, the police department had nothing to do with boarding up the home. That is actually the West family, the adopted parents, boarding up a lot of the windows because they were getting threats and people breaking the window, throwing stuff through the window and different things of that nature. So the West family themselves have had the home boarded up. He also stated that the adopted parents, which is Jacqueline and Trezell West, of course, that he says that they are not considered suspects at this time. So he says that there aren't any suspects at the time. There are persons of interest, of course, but he won't name who those persons of interest are. So there's a lot going on with this case that's very I guess I'll say secretive. Like the police department, they're sharing information, but yet not. A lot of the questions that the journalists are asking, it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to comment on that at this time, or I can't give information at this time. And I do understand, like, there's a lot of information that if they give that up, it could hinder their investigation and the information that they do have. But there are some things that I'm kind of like, I don't really understand why those questions aren't being answered. So it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of a little odd to me that there's just some stuff that the journalists asked and they seem like it should be like a simple answer to it, but then we'll get where I can't comment on that at this time, or I can't answer that question at this time. So I don't know. It kind of is reminiscent of I felt like with the Malia Davis case. If you guys, I mean, this was like well known. The Malia Davis case in Houston, Texas, where that she went missing, and of course, come to find out that the stepfather was the last one to see her, and they eventually found her, of course, and she was deceased. But there was a whole lot of like secrecy going on within the investigation, in my opinion. Like there's still, like, till this day, we still don't 100% know what happened to Malia Davis. We still don't understand, like a lot of people felt that Malia Davis's mom should have suffered some type of consequence, as far as legal consequence, as far as what happened to Malia Davis, because there were other CPS reports when Malia Davis had been, previously there was some abuse there. CPS had come out. There was something going on. Malia Davis had like a whole skull injury or something like that, so she had to have like a surgery, and so there was just like a whole lot of questions around like what was going on within the house and why wasn't the mom held accountable for anything that occurred. So Darian Vince ended up taking the fall in the end, but even with that, to date they still don't really have a full case on him. Like the last I knew, I think he was released on bail. Like he was released on bail, and the charges I think it wasn't even like for committing, like being responsible for her death. I think it was like, what's the word for it? Something with like a corpse after the person is deceased. But so I don't understand why they're not able to figure out what happened to this little girl. And so I feel like in this case with Orrin and Orson West, that there's kind of like this whole unknown, so much unknown going on here as well. And I don't really understand if the adopted parents are already stated on, according to the chief, that they were the last ones to see the boys. And they've stated that there were cadaver dogs and scent dogs that came out. So he explained the scent dogs, they come to try to pick up the scent to see if they can find the kids in the home anywhere. Cadaver dogs come out to see if they can pick up any type of um like a corpse, like DNA. They're searching pretty much for dead bodies. Okay, so the dogs found none of that, right? And they didn't find the dogs didn't pick up the scent. Dog did not pick up the scent outside the home or in the backyard where the adopted parents stated that the kids were, that Orrin and Orson were. Now, initially, it was thought that okay, the adoptive kids, the ones that's missing, Orrin and Orson, were outside playing with chalk, because this is the story we were given by the adoptive parents, and that the other four kids were inside. But that has been clarified that the other four kids actually weren't even at the home. They were apparently at the adoptive, the grandparent or with the grandmother on that day, and only Orrin and Orson were home that day. So I find that's kind of like, okay, the two youngest are with the parent, but the older ones, which by the way, the police chief did confirm that the kids range from age 10 to 3 in age. So he confirmed that two of the kids are biological kids. The other two were foster kids, and then the two that are missing, Orrin and Orson, were adopted kids. And so there's a total of 6 kids, as I had mentioned before, but now we're confirming that the other 2 kids were actually foster kids. So 2 biological, 2 foster, and the 2 adoptive sons, which of course are the ones that are still currently missing. What I am confused about is that I have not seen, again, I haven't seen all of the news reports or all of the news stations reporting on this, but I haven't heard anyone yet question them as to whether the other kids that were staying in the home, have they been questioned. They're old enough, the 10-year-old especially, is old enough to be able to answer certain questions, like when was the last time you saw your two little brothers? What's it like living at home with your parents? Are they I don't understand. Nobody has actually, from the footage that I've seen where the chief is being questioned, nobody has asked, okay, all the other 4 kids have been removed from the home. They are in foster care. So the other kids are not with the adopted parents. So the 2 biological kids that Jacqueline and Trezell West have, and the 2 foster kids, all 4 of those kids that were staying in their home, they've been removed from the home, and they're in foster care. So the Wests do not have any of their children right now since this investigation started. So what's not being clear, and what I have not seen being asked in any of the interviews with the chief, or any questioning time frames that they have, no, I haven't heard anyone say, okay, have you guys talked to the other kids? What are the other I mean, have y'all had a discussion? What do the other children say? Have the other children seen their little brothers? When was the last time they seen them? To me, that is a big, big, big piece of information, because if they're living all in the same household, surely that 10-year-old would know the last time they saw their little brothers, right? So, but none of that information is being given, and I have not heard any report ask that. Now, I don't know if there's a situation is because it's a minor, if that's what's going on here, that they can't really ask it, but it's just kind of, to me, that's one of the main things that I would be asking. Okay, CPS immediately removed the kids from the home, but has CPS or any of the police departments that are working on the case, which, by the way, it's the California City, which we find out that it's a very small police department. He said there's only about 13 officers, including himself, the chief, and that they've been getting assistance right now. It was 4 agencies, but now they're down to 2 agencies. So Bakersfield Police has been giving them a lot of assistance, because he said they have the technology and the labs and stuff to assist with a lot of the investigative work and evidentiary items that they've collected from the home. And the FBI is continuing to work on the case. So it's just kind of well, nobody has asked the question, okay, so have you guys talked to the other kids in the home, right? So they range from 10 to 3. How old are the other kids in between there? But we know that 10-year-old is old enough to be able to answer those types of questions, assertively, oh, well, yes, I haven't seen my brother, my 2 younger brothers in weeks, or they should be able to answer that question, right? They're in the 5th grade. So that question is not even coming up. And to me, that's one of the main things that I would think that they would be questioning. And so there's just a lot of information here. I actually had to write this stuff down because it was so much to try to remember, you guys. But so I went over the kids. There was a total of 6 kids. And they said it's been about a week and a half since they last searched the home, because the reporter did ask them when was the last time you guys been to the home? Because the police chief did say that the West they still have access to the home, so they can go in, come and go as they please. He did say, of course, they initially had a warrant, so they're able to go in and collect items as if they need, or if they feel like would contribute to the evidentiary support that they need while they're investigating the case. He did confirm that they did have one of the vehicles towed and sprayed with luminol. They did not find any type of bodily fluids or evidence with that. They haven't found any bodily fluids or anything like that in the home either. He says they checked the home multiple times. They've been back there, and checked the home up and down. They've dug up the ground outside in the yard. They've checked the chimneys. They've checked everywhere in the house. They have not located any information as far as, any body or anything that would lead them to believe that the kids are in the home. He also clarified that he wouldn't say one way or the other if he feels like at this point, are the kids alive or do you believe the kids are deceased? In most police investigations, at some point they will say, well, at this time we do believe that the kids are not alive, or we believe that they may not be alive. But he's not really confirming one way or the other. He'll say, oh, we just want to we just want to remain hopeful and this and that. So he won't really say one way or the other whether they feel like the children are deceased or whether they feel like the children are still alive and maybe being kept captive somewhere or maybe trafficked. Like, he won't give any information on that. And typically in a police investigation, I would think that is one thing that they normally will say at some point. They will say, okay, based on the evidence we have, we believe that the kids may no longer be here, right? But he won't even confirm on that. So I don't understand why there's so much like questions that are not being answered, that in a standard police investigation, that type of question would normally be answered. And then the journalist even tried to ask him, so based on, because the chief would say, okay, well, we have to follow the path where the evidence leads us, right? So then the journalist says, okay, so based on the evidence that you've collected thus far and the information that you have thus far, does that path lead you to believe that these children are deceased, or these children have met foul play and they're not alive? And he won't answer one way or the other. He's just like, well, we do believe that there's foul play, but foul play doesn't necessarily mean that they're deceased. Foul play could just mean that they were taken against their will, or, so it's just like, why not give us a direct answer with that? I understand it's an investigation and you don't want to give up too much information, but something like that where you're just saying, okay, where does your evidence lead you to believe? It's not confirmed yet. But why can't you provide a direct answer on it? I don't understand that. And then the police chief also confirmed that, well, first he didn't even want to confirm this. The journalist asked him, hey, did you guys request that the adopted parents, Jacqueline and Trisselle West, did you guys request them to take a lie detector test? And so he was like, I'm not going to answer that. He said, okay, well, I'm not asking if they agreed or disagreed to take the test. I'm just asking, did the police department ask them to take a lie detector test? So then he comes out and says, yes, we did. But he would not confirm on what happened with that. Did they take the test? Did they say they're not taking the test? Did they take the test and fail the test? Did they take the test and pass the test? Like, there's so much information that it doesn't seem, at least to me, it doesn't seem to me that should be a secret. Like, I understand, yes, I understand him not disclosing the results, but to me, even when the journalist initially asked that question, I don't see why you couldn't say, yes, we did request for them to take a test. He almost, like, he didn't even want to give that information. And then, like, some questions the journalist would ask, and then he would say, well, we don't want anybody speculating. Well, what do you care whether somebody people speculate all the time, whether you give information or not. People are going to speculate. People have their own ideas and opinions about what they feel like happened based off of prior stories or similar cases that we've witnessed. That it seems to be a repeating process. Like, usually when children go missing and it's under suspicious circumstances, it's usually from somebody within. Whether it's somebody living in the house or a family member or a friend, usually it's like somebody that's inside the circle, right? So, like, I don't understand, like, there's like this kind of this wall up where it's like, well, we're not going to answer this because we don't want any speculation. If we say this and people are going to speculate, well, what do you, like, why does whether somebody speculate matter? people are going to speculate. You're a police department. Of course, the public doesn't know the inside um processes and secrets that y'all, guidelines that y'all follow when you're in an investigation. So of course, from the outside, we might say, okay, we don't feel like the police department is doing enough, but y'all could be doing everything that y'all are supposed to do. But that's normal. Like, that's what the public is just gonna do. So I don't get, like, why are you not answering these questions? I don't understand why there's, like, to me, like, kind of like this bubble being put around the adoptive parents without really understanding a reason why. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, okay, we don't know for sure what has occurred. The adoptive parents could be telling the truth, and I understand that he wants to make sure that they're safe. That's totally understandable, because the journalist, not from ABC23, but the journalist from KGET TV asked him, okay, so he confirmed that the West are not living in the California City home that they had moved to, that they were living in Bakersfield. So he almost didn't want to confirm that part. She said, yes, so they are living in Bakersfield. He said, yes, they are. She said, okay, so are they living back in their old apartment that they were in, or where exact are they in Bakersfield? He said, I can't give that information. I'm not going to give that information. Because at first he said he didn't know where in Bakersfield. But then when she came back around and was asking more questions, then he confirmed that he does know where they are in Bakersfield, but he's not going to disclose that information. Again, I totally understand that, because they need some level of safety, because if they are innocent, then, people shouldn't be like, because we know that things can get out of hand, right? People were showing up at their house breaking windows and different things, and, outside of their home, telling them they're guilty and all these types of things or whatever. So I can definitely understand, not just for their safety, but also their family members. If they're staying with a family member and it's broadcast like, hey, this is where they're living, well, of course not. That's not safe for them, and their family members didn't ask to be put in that predicament. So I totally understand that. But even getting to that point was kind of like trying to break down a wall. Like, he first he made it seem like, oh, I don't know where they're living in Bakersfield, but then he came back around after she was asking questions, and he confirmed, well, yes, I do know where they live. Well, why couldn't you just say that up front? Like, I don't understand. Just, yes, we are aware. We know how to locate them. We know how to contact them or reach them if we need to. We know exactly where they are, but we're not disclosing that information for safety reasons. I don't understand why that just couldn't, like, it's like I said, I just feel like there's so many, like, a lot is just like being withheld, but like I don't really get like the true reason why, like, so much is like, oh, I'm not going to answer that one. It's just like, okay, well, just say yes, you know where they are, but you can't disclose that information. That's private, that's confidential, and it's for safety reasons. And move on from the next question. But like, why is it so much? Well, I'm not going to answer that. Well, I can't give you that information. Well, I, I, I just don't understand that. I just don't get that. But hey, they're trying to do their job, so be it. Okay, so let's see. Okay, and so they did. He also did confirm that California City Police Department is still the primary police department on the case, because the one of the reporters was asking, because it had been rumored that the Bakersfield had taken over. One of the other agencies had taken primary control of the case, and he said that wasn't the case. That California City is still the primary, police investigative unit on the case, whatever. So he did confirm that part. What else did I want to say? Also, as far as the warrants that were served, so he did say that the warrant that they served was to retrieve like electronic items, things of that nature. He wouldn't go into detail about all the things that the warrant included, but he said, like, electronic items is in-house. Some of those electronic items have been returned. At least the cell phones have been returned to them since then, or whatever. So he did confirm that. Um, And he did say that the call came through at about 5. The dispatch came through at about 5:43 on 12/21, which was the time frame that the West reported that the Orrin and Orson were missing. So he did confirm that information. What else? What else? I think I've kind of gone over it. Well, I did remember most of it without having to look towards my notes. So let's see. Confirm. Oh, also something else that he did confirm he wouldn't positively say who confirmed. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so he confirmed that nobody has seen the kids technically since the 21st, since they went missing. He did confirm that the grandmother did see the kids prior to that, and I believe another person had seen the kids prior to that, but he wouldn't give the specific dates of when the last time those people saw the children. So again, this is another part that I'm confused about, because typically in the police investigating previous stuff that I've seen with missing children, they would say, okay, well, the parents last seen them on this date, or a neighbor said that they last time they spotted the child was on this date. But again, this information is being withheld. So the parents, the adopted parents, were the last ones to see the boys, but the grandmother apparently and another person has seen the boys. They have information of when was the last time they seen the boys, but they won't tell us the date, and they won't tell us the time frame, or they won't give that information. Again, I don't understand why on that part. Again, he's saying he doesn't want speculation about people saying about what the police department should or shouldn't be doing. But again, that's going to happen anyway. So again, I don't understand why that part is not being stated. Like, I just, again, I'm not a police officer, so hey, I'm sure he has his reasons. But from the outside looking in, it's just, I don't know why so much protection around the situation. Like, I feel like there's like a bubble around the people who have last seen the child. Like, I don't understand that. What else? He said that since then, initially, the neighbors that they have spoken to says they have never seen the children at any point in time since the Wests moved there in September. But then they said they talked to more neighbors since then, and there have been some neighbors that have said they were aware that there were children in the household, but they could not confirm whether those children were Orrin and Orson West. So they can confirm, yes, there were kids in the house, but no, we can't say yeah or no whether Orrin and Orson was in there. We don't know what kids were. We just know that we're aware there were kids in the house. So he did confirm that. So at least we know that much, right? Initially, it was thought that kids were never seen, but now some neighbors have confirmed that they have seen kids at the house, but they can't confirm who the kids were, which kids it was, or if all 6 kids were ever seen at one time. That hasn't been confirmed either. Um, yeah, and they're saying that they've been back and forth. The police department has been to the home at least about 4 times or something like that. And he's saying that he's still in constant contact with the parents, with the adoptive parents, that they have been remained cooperative, and that they've remained available anytime they need to reach out to them and ask them any more questions. They've come to the police station about 3 times at least, he stated, to answer questions or if they need further information based on any tips or information that they get in. So he says that the adopted parents have been, fully cooperative. They've been available anytime they need to talk, whatever. They have not been requested by the California City the California City Police Department or any other agencies that he's aware of. They have not been asked not to leave the city or the state. So on no level are the parents or the adopted parents being told that they can't leave the city or the state or anything like that, because again, he's stating right now at this time they don't have any suspects. They have persons of interest, but no suspects yet. Okay, and so it has been approximately 32 days since Orrin and Orson West have gone missing, and of course the journalists, which they conducted this interview exactly 30 days since the boys were reported missing, both journalists did ask from both news channels, at what point would you consider this to be a cold case? It has now been 30 days. Or are we looking at this becoming a cold case? The chief confirmed, no, we are not close to considering this a cold case. This is an ongoing investigation. We will continue to follow up on tips. He did say that they get about 20 to 30 tips a day, and that they try to follow up on all of those tips if they have enough information to be able to pursue those tips. He said that a lot of tips that he gets in are very vague, where someone will call and say, oh, we think we saw the kids over here on the side of a car. But if they don't have like details, the color of the car, make and model, actual location, time and date, if they don't have like all the like specifics, then it's harder for them to actually really be able to 100% follow up on those tips. So he says the more details that can be provided when calling in, the better, but all tips are, of course, welcomed. And he is working with the Bakersfield Police Department again for assistance, because the California City Department is pretty small with only 13 police officers. That's not a lot of police officers. But I'm not familiar with California City. I have no idea how big the population is, whether they require that many police officers. But clearly for this case, it requires a lot of hands on deck to work together to try to still help find, Orrin and Orson West. And so I want to say that that's probably all I have for you guys today. Um, yeah. Oh, another thing is that he's saying that they are still going through hours of surveillance footage and camera footage that they have from surrounding areas and in the neighborhood. But he says that he cannot disclose any information concerning the video footage that they have obtained. So again, I'm confused because you don't have any suspects. So what does it matter whether you disclose the information on that you don't have? You're saying you don't have any suspects. You just have persons of interest. But again, he's a police officer, so he said he has over 30 years of experience, so he knows what he's doing, but that's just my personal opinion. So they have footage that they're going through. They have information from that footage, but they are not disclosing what they saw in the footage or any information from that footage. Yeah, and so I already pretty much stated my issues. Like, I don't understand, but there's some things to me that feel like should be a direct answer, and it's just like I can't answer that, I can't comment. My other thing is, I don't hear anyone saying about have they interviewed the children, the other children in the house, to get an idea of what goes on in the house, what it's like there. When was the last time they seen their little brothers? I haven't heard any information on that. That's one thing that I'm still waiting to hear some information on. Okay, because in other cases I've heard of them interviewing. They interviewed the sister and the little sister in the house, and she says that the last time she saw her mom or whatever it was, they've interviewed like not in general. Police departments have interviewed children where situations or things have occurred. They'll say they've interviewed the other sister or something like that. So again, I don't understand in this situation we're not getting any information about. And another thing I don't understand, where do they like? We don't have any information about the adopted parents. What do they do? Like, where do they work? Do they work at home? Like, what is the situation? Like, we don't really have any information other than these two kids are missing. We don't have an idea about the kids' personalities. What did they like? What school? Were they in the nursery at all? Was she a stay-at-home mom? Was she taking care of the kids? Were they at the grandmother all day during school time? Does the husband work? Like, we have like zero information. Whereas normally in these types of cases, you would know what the parents do. When a child goes missing, they would say, okay, the mom was at work, or the mom works here, or she's in this type of industry. The dad, the child was supposed to be in daycare, and we don't have any information about that. Like, what was the setup here? What was the setup here? Were all these kids being homeschooled? Were the foster kids going to a school? Did the mom work? Did the younger kids, Orrin and Orson, or were they staying home with the mom all day, Jacqueline, and she was keeping, like, what was the setup here? Like, we have zero. This is what I mean when I say there's a lot of unknown, or a lot of information that's not being provided that would normally be provided in these types of cases. So I don't understand why we're not getting that information, because I'm looking at the house. It's a pretty nice house. It's a big house, and that yard is huge. So I was just kind of curious, like, well, what exactly do they do for a living? How are they, like, what's their resource of income? How are they taking care of the kids? Like, we don't have any information about the household in general, what the setup is like, what kind of, like, so we can get an idea of, kind of give us a feeling of whether, like, what we're hearing, what the adopted parents are saying, or is it possible that they're really telling us the truth, and maybe they're just not good with showing emotion on camera. And the problem is we don't know anything about what the household, like, what their lifestyle was like, what the kids did on a daily basis. Like, we had a better understanding of these types of things, maybe we wouldn't have to speculate what we think, because we're not being given enough information to me to even be able to say whether, okay, well, I don't know. It's just, Yeah. But that's all I have for you guys to get today. Again, I will be reporting as soon as I can get some more information or if any more details come out about this, you guys. Okay, so if you got some value out of this video or you just got some great entertainment, go ahead and hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It helps the algorithm, helps get my videos out there. And yeah, I just want to continue to report and give you guys valuable information. I also do celebrity news, but um, lately I've been kind of more focused on some other things that I find that are more important or brings more awareness to the community as a whole. So again, you guys, thank you so much for watching my channel. My name is Christy B. I'm the host of What's the 504. And you guys have a good night. Be safe and stay healthy. All right. Smooches.